It is being reported that Kyle Busch is likely out of Joe Gibbs Racing and might be headed to a newer organization in 2023, and there's a Martinsville tire test currently going on at this moment. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got some NASCAR and other motorsports stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into those really quickly. We're going to go ahead and start our paint schemes and sponsorship news first. Let's jump into those really quickly. The first paint scheme we're taking a look at is Ryan Ellis's 2022 Corvette Keen Parts Breast Cancer Awareness Scheme that we're going to be seeing this weekend at Daytona. I love this paint scheme. I like the white, I like the purple, I like all the colors on this car. It looks really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing on the racetrack this weekend at Daytona. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is J.J. Yeley's 2022 My Electric Career Scheme we're going to be seeing this weekend here at Daytona. Like this paint scheme a lot. Pretty cool to see that J.J. Yeley's back into 66 this weekend. I think he's going to do a really solid job, and I'm definitely looking forward to see on the racetrack this weekend at Daytona. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is William Byron's 2022 Exalta Service King scheme they're going to see this weekend at Daytona. Pretty cool to see the old school Exalta colors are going to be back on the car this weekend. Also really awesome to see that Service King is going to be sponsoring. Pretty good looking scheme in my opinion. Excited to see on the racetrack this weekend at Daytona. And the final paint scheme we're taking a look at is Kevin Harvick's 2022 Mobil 1 Route 66 scheme they're going to be seeing this weekend at Daytona. Pretty awesome to see that he's got a new looking Mobil 1 scheme. I think this one actually is really great in my opinion. And one thing I love about Mobil 1 is they will change up their paint schemes from time to time. This one's no exception. I think it looks really awesome. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing on the racetrack this weekend at Daytona. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Corey LaJoie. As Corey LaJoie's Kickball Classic that he brought back last year is actually going to be returning on October 6th this year. Many drivers and many people in the industry will be competing in that kickball tournament, including Joey Logano, Corey LaJoie. I think Jamie McMurray is another one that was mentioned. There's a lot of other individuals in the industry, including Ryan Blaney, who also could be competing in this Kickball Classic as well. I think it's so cool they're bringing this back. I think this involves charity too, so this is such a cool initiative they do, and I'm really happy they're bringing it back this year. A lot of people tune in today. I think it's really exciting, and I'm happy to see that the Kickball Classic is going to be back this year. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Geico. As Adam Stern put out a report earlier yesterday, and he says that Geico has been airing its NASCAR-themed spot at Helpful Neighbors. If you've seen the ad, I think it's a really good Geico ad. It's basically a bunch of pit crew members that basically helping their neighbors, and basically they do like pit crew stuff, help with their lawnmower. I think it's a really good ad. But it just shows that there's a lot more activity around the NASCAR industry, and I think it's just so cool to see that Geico is sponsoring, and it just continues to have good branding. Happy to see that we got it, and I think the commercial is pretty good, in my honest opinion. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Lewis Hamilton. It was reported by Adam Stern yesterday that Lewis Hamilton has received a 0.2% stake in the Denver Broncos as part of his previously announced deal to become investor of the Denver Broncos. He gets basically a small percentage, like $9 or $10 million, because his team is worth, I think, around $6.5 billion or $4.5 billion. So Lewis Hamilton is getting still a pretty big percentage of that stake. Of course, Lewis Hamilton, like I mentioned, is partnering up with the Denver Broncos. That is a lot of money that's coming in outside of Formula 1, which he makes a lot of money in Formula 1. I just think it's so cool to see that we got drivers getting involved with the Broncos, that's involved with the family of the Broncos, and it's pretty cool to see that Lewis Hamilton does have somewhat of a stake in the Denver Broncos. Really great to see, in my honest opinion. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Drive to Survive. Now, Adam Stern put out a tweet earlier yesterday, and he reports that Netflix was definitely surprised by the success of Drive to Survive. None of us expected it to take the kind of cultural significance it has. We were staggered by the response, especially in the States. Drive to Survive has been such a major key thing of bringing a lot of fans from the United States and other younger fans into the series. You get behind the scenes, you also get a little bit over-exaggerated drama, but you also get a lot of cool things. It's really great to see that Drive to Survive has grown as much as it has, and it has brought a lot of fans into the series as well. And Drive to Survive has not only continued to grow, they have a lot of really big ratings. It's unclear how long the series is going to last, but you look at a lot of races this year. Look at Austria, you look at Australia, you look at Miami. They have had huge attendance numbers, and I think the big reason why we're seeing huge attendance numbers is success to Drive to Survive. A lot of fans that come out to those races, they have been a big fan of Drive to Survive, and they come in because of, you guessed it, Drive to Survive. I think with the success of Drive to Survive, I think that's really, really playing a major factor in helping the growth of Formula One. I think it's been so exciting to see the growth of Formula One for sure. Ratings have been up drastically this year. Of course, Formula One is going to be back this weekend, and I believe they race in Spa, if I'm not mistaken. And Drive to Survive being as successful as it's been, I think is awesome to see for sure, and happy to see that Drive to Survive continues to be as successful of a series as it is. Really cool to see for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Ronnie Bassett Jr. As Ronnie Bassett Jr. is going to drive the 77 for Bassett Racing this weekend at Daytona. Bassett Racing made the race a couple weekends ago. I can't remember exactly which track they raced. I think it might have been Richmond, if I'm not mistaken. But Bassett Racing would tempted to once again make the field in the 77 car because they do not have a lot of owners points coming into this weekend. Now, I don't know how Bassett Racing is going to do on the pace and speed. They do have, I believe, ECR engines, if I'm not mistaken. They've gotten them this year. But they've struggled for a lot of pace in Daytona. There is, of course, going to be qualifying. There's no practice, so you're not going to have draft to really help you in the qualifying sessions. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if Bassett Racing can make the field or not. I think they've got talent behind the wheel of the 77 car. There's no doubt about it. But can they make the field? That's going to be one thing to check for sure. But it's cool to see that they continue to be entering, and I hope they go full-time next year because I think they would love to go full-time next year. But hopefully they do have an opportunity to maybe go full-time in 2023. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to go ahead and talk about Josh Williams. As Josh Williams is going to be making a familiar return, and he will be returning to DGM Racing for the remainder of the 2022 season. He will drive the final 10 races, or 11 races of the season. He will drive in the 92 car and the 36 car for DGM Racing. Last year, of course, the team drove for 4 or 5 straight years with DGM Racing, but he left to go to BJ McLeod Motorsports. And let's be honest, he had been struggling at BJ McLeod Motorsports this year. And DGM Racing so far this year has shown a lot more pace and a lot more speed so far in 2022, and they've shown a lot more power. And I think that DGM Racing bringing Josh Williams back makes a lot of sense. And he's got sponsorship funding for companies like Alloy, and I think Josh is a very talented driver. What are my expectations for Josh? I think Josh Williams will get a top 10 or 2. I really think he's going to get a couple of really solid runs, especially at a super speed track like Daytona. I think he will be very, very faster, and I think Josh Williams is going to rise a lot of people the rest of this year and do a really good job. I'm just so happy that Josh is coming back to the team, and there was really no tension between the team when he left. He had an opportunity to work at BJ McLeod. There was no hard feelings, and if you don't have any hard feelings, you're going to have an opportunity to go back to teams and work for them, and I think his performance is going to be a lot better with the organization. So I'm very happy to see for sure that Josh Williams is returning to DGM Racing. Really exciting for sure, and glad to see he'll be back with DGM Racing. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Tarso Marquez. Now, Tarso Marquez had an interview recently with Motorsports.com in regards to Team Sage Racing. Remember Team Sage Racing, that organization that was supposed to be racing multiple times this year, including supposed to be making her debut at Road America? Well, they say Tarso Marquez provided an update on what has been going on with Team Sage Racing. He provided an update basically saying that they are way behind on payments and they're having issues getting things resolved to get into the sport. There's been multiple times already that it's important that Team Sage is still trying to get in the sport and they are trying to race. But like I said, they've had issues with their payments. They haven't even raced so far this year in ARCA. I haven't seen them making the ARCA starts here. They were supposed to race at Mid-Ohio, but they haven't had an opportunity, really had a chance to get there because they're having issues with the payments. And I think a lot of it has to do with that cryptocurrency. A lot of cryptocurrencies tend to be very, very scammy and very, very shady. So I think that's a pretty big reason why they're having issues with payments currently at the moment and why they're having major, major problems getting issues resolved. Now, Tarso Marquez did actually mention, though, in the interview, he did basically say that he's hoping to run 1 or 2 races with the team, and he thinks the team will get stuff resolved, but they're hoping to have stuff done so he can race at least 1 or 2 times, and we hope to race in 2023, but he doesn't know if the team will be around in the future. It's such a shame to see this because, again, this is not the first time we've seen a lot of teams be really, really shady and have a lot of problems. We see a lot of times where we've seen teams show up out of nowhere and then they don't show up to the racetrack. And Team Sage is a perfect example. And just imagine if Tarso had been approved to race with the Project 91 group, or not Project 91, but basically race on the same track with 7 or 8 international drivers. And he would have been able to make the field since every driver would have been able to make it. But they were supposed to make a debut at Watkins Glen. That did not happen. And issues with payments, that does happen when it comes to sponsorship from time to time. It is very disappointing to see for sure. But again, it's not very surprising to see it. And I'm not shocked that there's issues going on when it comes to issues with the team. So not a major shock and not a major surprise to me. But again, it's very disappointing to see for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the Watkins Glen TV ratings. Now, a good friend of mine, Austin Canensi, who works at Sportsline, put out a report in regards to the Watkins Glen TV ratings. And according to him, he says that the NASCAR Cup Series race at Watkins Glen averaged 2.563 million viewers on USA. This is up 17.1% compared to last year, where it was a 2.124 million viewers. That is over 400,000 more people that showed up and basically tuned into the race on USA. Now, why are the ratings up as much as they are? Well, there's a couple reasons why the TV ratings are generally up. Number one, you look at basically Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi Räikkönen brought a lot of F1 fans, a lot of international fans into the race as well. And I think because Kimi Räikkönen being there, how many people, international fans, have been tuning into races, we saw a lot more there. Another big reason is I think it comes to the TV ratings, USA has a much bigger reach, and they've done a much better promotion than when NBC did their promotion. NBC did not do a really good job when it comes to promotion. NBCSM, we have seen a lot of promotion for all the race on USA. They have not been really lacking on that, and we've seen 7 or 8 straight races now with the ratings up, and I think a lot of it is due to the fact that they've been doing a better job promoting. I think NASCAR's decision to go to USA and be there has really, really helped, and more people have provided to work with USA, and I think that's why we're seeing increase in ratings. And we've already talked about this, but we've seen already a 4 or 5% increase in the TV ratings in general, and we're going to see that continue to increase if USA continues strong, because that was really the partnership at the beginning was really, really bad. But as time has progressed and time has gone on, they have really done a better job when it comes to promoting in races. They're getting more people to tune into races for sure, and I think it's a really, really positive thing. And the direction that things are going right now, I think is really, really smooth and great to see. So, again, it's really cool to see the Watkins Glen TV ratings are up. It's a very big positive for sure, and very happy to see the ratings are up for Watkins Glen. And now we're going to jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode, as we're going to talk about the Martinsville Next Gen Tire Test. Now, over the next couple of days, today and tomorrow, there is going to be a Next Gen test. It's a major organizational test to really help with the racing that is going on there. Every single team except Live Fast Motorsports, Rickrow Racing, and Front Row Motorsports is going to be at this test. Now, a lot of people have been questioning if they were going to be streaming the test or not. It was confirmed that they are not going to be streaming the test on YouTube, which is kind of a major surprise considering I think a lot of people would love to see this Martinsville test, especially everybody there, but they are not going to be streaming on NASCAR.com or YouTube as well. Now, why are they doing this next-gen test at Martinsville? Well, one big reason they're doing this next-gen test is basically to fix the short track problems at Martinsville. Martinsville had a very, very, very bad race earlier this year. They had really, really bad racing. Basically, no one could pass, and it was the worst race of the year. And Martinsville is a track that generally has put on really, really good racing. But unfortunately, this past year, the racing was absolutely horrendous and was absolutely terrible. So that's why they're doing this next-gen test. Now, a lot of people have been asking questions in regards to the Martinsville tire test, if they're going to be bringing the dirt track aero body, because they actually tested the dirt track body earlier this year before, I believe, the Gateway weekend. They were actually at Martinsville testing with the dirt track car. They're not testing with that underbody. They're testing with the short track package. They're also, what they're doing is they're trying out a new left side tire that's going to wear a little bit more, and it's going to be a little bit warmer. It's about 70, 80 degrees at the track right now, so it's going to be a little bit warmer than when the race happens. It might be 70, 80 degrees, but we'll see what happens because Martinsville is a little bit unpredictable when it does come to the weather. But one thing they're hoping to do is to fix the racing at Martinsville for the championship, the second to last race. Now, I will say I'm really glad that NASCAR is being proactive with this and they're doing this test. We're probably going to talk a lot more about this next-gen test when it does happen, but I think that having this test and having a team is willing to go out there and try to fix the problems with the next-gen car at a track like Martinsville, I think is such a positive and a really good thing, because I think that they do need to fix these problems and do need to get them resolved. But it's good to see that they are testing the next-gen car to fix the problems and get the issues resolved. So it's good to see they're testing in Martinsville, and I'm happy to see for sure that they're going to try to figure out the problems. We will talk about more of this later this week, probably on Thursday or Friday, so keep your eyes on notifications and make sure to tune into that, because I probably will talk more about this test later this week. And now we're going to jump on to the final major story of today's episode as we're talking about Kyle Busch. Now, we've been following this Kyle Busch story for the last few months, and a lot of you are probably tired because a lot of you are probably still wondering what is going on with Kyle Busch. Well, it was reported on the Door Bumper Clear podcast last night that Kyle Busch is being reported that he will not be returning to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2023. They also mentioned the front runner currently at the moment is Kaulig Racing at the moment, and there's a 40% chance that he is going to go to Chevy team, 30% chance he is going to go to a Ford team, and a 20% chance he is going to go to a Toyota team. And at 10%, I would assume it either be out of NASCAR or would be at another organization. Let's get into the gist of things and talk about this. For a lot of you who have been following this Kyle Busch story for the last few months, Kyle Busch has been having a hard time finding sponsorship and funding. They actually did have a sponsor for Kyle Busch for him to return to Joe Gibbs Racing with Oracle, who is a big partner of the Red Bull Racing organization and a major technology company from Texas. Unfortunately, that deal kind of fell through at the last minute, and they have been really struggling to find sponsorship. Kyle Busch also stated this past weekend at the media center that he said that there are big changes coming, and that he really, when you heard him in the media center, it very sounded like there. Now, it is not confirmed currently by the team themselves that he is leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, but for a lot of people in the industry that have been following this closely, a lot of them are saying that it's very likely that Kyle Busch is going to be out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Again, it comes down to how much money he's making. He's only made $14.5. He's making $14.5 million a year right now with his deal with Mars, and M&M's, of course, they're leaving. What's another big reason why they're leaving? Well, Kyle Busch's performance has not been great the last couple of years as well, and they've got Ty Gibbs right now waiting wings. That is who's more than likely going to replace Kyle Busch at the team next year, Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, of course, is someone. He's been performing really well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year. He's been doing incredible. He's got 5 wins so far this year and is competing for a championship, but also has made select Cup starts this year. And I think Joe Gibbs probably has been really impressed. And generally, outside of a couple races, Ty Gibbs outperformed Kyle Busch in a lot of races. And I think that's a big thing that probably is hurting Joe Gibbs a little bit, is they want to keep Kyle. And I think Toyota really wants to keep Kyle, but they're having problems there. Let's go back to the initial report around the team that's a favorite. Kaulig Racing. Now, Kaulig Racing, of course, is a team that is going to be next year in their second year, and Matt Kaulig has stated very recently that they're not sure what they're going to do with their second 16 car or their 31 car. Now, a lot of people will say, what about Stewart-Haas Racing? Why would Kyle Busch not go to Stewart-Haas Racing? We talked about this past week. I actually talked about this yesterday, that Kyle Busch, the reason he's probably not going to Stewart-Haas Racing is it's expected Eric Almirola more than likely is going to come back to the 10. He still has not made an official decision yet if he's going to return to the 10 car or not. It's not clear if he's going to be returning or not to the 10, but it's very likely he'll return to the 10, but he's not made a decision there. And more than likely, Cole Custer is getting back into 41 next year. Of course, Cole Custer being the son of Joe Custer. It would definitely make a lot of sense for him to return to the team. Being the son, even though he's really struggling in that 41 car, he's very expected to return to the 41 car. Then you bring up 2311 Racing. Why would he not go to 2311 Racing? Well, I think it would definitely make a lot of sense for him to go to 2311 Racing since they have a big partnership with Toyota. I just don't see it happening right now because the fact I think there's a chance he's going to come back to the team. And if anyone's going to go and replace Kurt, it's more than likely going to be Tyler Reddick. Let's transition back to Kaulig Racing. Why Kaulig Racing as the favorite? Well, there's a couple major reasons. Number one, Kaulig Racing is a team that is on the up and up right now. Last year, in their first year in the few select starts they ran, they actually won with aging Allmendinger. And they are a team that's known to have a lot of money. Matt Kaulig has a lot of funding and a lot of sponsorship willing to work with him. Leaf Filter is a big partner with the company, so you have Leaf Filter that would be willing to work with Kyle Busch and be willing to sponsor with them. And also, I think Rowdy Energy would be a very possible option as well there. So I think Kyle Busch can have that 16 car and do pretty well. Let's also not forget that when Kyle Busch went to Joe Gibbs Racing after he left Hendrick, a lot of people did not expect Kyle Busch to perform in the 18 car because when he went over to the 18 car, the last years of the 18 car had been shambles. The final 2 years of Bobby Labonte in 2004 and 2005 were really horrendous and really bad. Bobby Labonte failed to win in those 2 years. And J.J. Elliott was worse. J.J. Elliott performed very bad in that car, did nothing, and made that 18 car really bad. The first year that Kyle Busch went over to Kaulig Racing, guess what he did? Not Kaulig Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing. Guess what he did? He went on to win 8 races and had a shot at the championship that year and has now gone on to win 2 races. He brought the 18 car back to relevance, and I think Ty Gibbs will be able to do that as well. And Kyle Busch, I think, would do really good with Kaulig. He can really evaluate a team and elevate a team. Kaulig Racing with their Cup program, they're needing a full-time driver right now that's really going to elevate their performance. And I think Kyle Busch is going to absolutely do that when he does go over to Kaulig Racing. He's going to be a driver to do that. But here's another big reason why I think that this is going to happen. Chris Rice this past week, and I talked about this on Monday, but Chris Rice said that they are wanting to expand to a Truck Series team, a late model team, and an IMSA team. What driver currently in the Cup Series has a Truck Series team and a late model team? Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has a Truck Series team that is willing to go and work, and also a late model team as well. And a lot of people ask, well, what happens? Why would they go there? Wouldn't it take a lot of time? Not so fast. There is a rumbling that Dorval McClure basically brought up that right now there is a rumbling at this current moment that there is a very strong possibility and chance that GMS Racing may shut their Truck Series team down and Truck Series program down to just focus on their Cup Series program and improving their Cup Series department while shutting the Truck Series down and team down and selling it. That's not confirmed, but they're saying there's a possibility that rumor that they are potentially going to sell their truck team. Kyle Busch could buy up all that stuff and get a team partnered up. There's also a very big possibility that Kyle Busch could take an ownership stake in Kaulig Racing with like Kyle Busch, basically like Busch Kaulig Racing. He could buy an ownership stake into the organization, and Kyle Busch comes from a team that has ownership stake as well. Think about this. 2 drivers he drove for, basically drove with 2008. Kyle Busch drove with Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin now is a team owner. Denny Hamlin's a part owner of 2311 Racing. Same thing goes for Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart is the owner of Stewart-Haas Racing. Stewart-Haas Racing has won championships now. They won championships in 2011 and 2014 and could win a championship this year with either Chase Briscoe or Kevin Harvick. 2311 has been showing a lot of pace in their second year, and they've already won a couple races, one with Kurt Busch and once above the walls, and potentially could win another race above the walls this weekend at Daytona. I think Kyle Busch's Kaulig Racing is going to make a lot of sense, and I think Kyle will do a lot better at Kaulig than people realizes. I think he'll perform extremely well with Kaulig Racing. I think he'll do a really good job with the team, and I think he's going to do some good things with the team. I'm just saying, I think that Kyle Busch is really going to go to that team. If he truly does go there, which it seems more and more likely that he's going to end up at Kaulig, I think Kyle Busch is going to do a lot of good stuff with the team. He's going to perform very, very well. And I think at this point, I would expect if you're a fan of Kyle Busch, I think he's probably going to end up in Kaulig Racing in 2023. So anyway, that is going to be today's Law, NASCAR, and Motorsports video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notification on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. List description below over that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. Do you think that Kyle Busch is not returning to Joe Gibbs Racing? Do you think he's officially going to Kaulig Racing in 2023 or not? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about the Martinsville tire test? And do you think this test is going to improve the racing at Martinsville or not? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we're going to have race picks on the channel. We'll have some race picks coming out. And then Thursday, I think I'm going to have another video around Project 91 and drivers that potentially could drive for the Project 91 car, and see in your comments and talk about all the drivers you all mentioned and doing a video on that. Or it could be a news video. Who knows? Keep your notification tabs on the channel. If you got more content on the way, we also got Daytona this weekend, which I'm really excited for you guys to watch. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.